Hi, Grandpa. It's nice that you could spend time with us and our friends after Sunday service.
Our friends were asking questions, and they said that you were famous?
Oh, yes.
What can you tell us about growing up as a slave, Grandpa?
Well, I was a slave, and my mom was a slave, living right here in town behind the Mouse's house. I guess we did all right compared to the African folk Mousa had working over there on Ladies Island. I visited over there and saw how the slaves had to work for the Mousa, making money in the fields for them.
You got to go to Charleston to work when you were a young man, didn't you?
Yes, I worked as a lamplighter, sailmaker, and sailor. They even paid me a little money that I saved, but it wasn't enough to buy my wife and my baby's freedom when we got married.
So you knew so much about the water, they wanted you to work on the supply boat, didn't they?
Well, I always loved the rivers and the creeks as a boy and a man. I knew the tides, the shallows, and how not to get a boat into trouble. So they made me a crew on the planter boat. But they still called me a slave. The planter was a Confederate supply boat. I watched close and learned real quick. One night, 3 white officers left for a party in town. We, the colored men, had planned for it. We fired up the steam engine and left for another dock to get our families. I remember the sound of their footsteps running down to our boat.
How did you get from the Charleston harbor to the Union boats?
Oh, it was a sight. When we came up on Fort Sumter, knowing they'd be looking for the whistles and signals of the planter. So I put on the captain's hat and coat and blew that whistle just right. We steamed out the Union boats, and we put up a white surrender flag so their guns wouldn't blast us out of the water. We were ready to blow ourselves up if they tried to stop us. I can't say in words how we felt when we got in those Union boats. Freedom at last for my family and I was so sweet.
After you took the planter to get your freedom, didn't they take you to meet President Lincoln?
Yes, I know he was glad to see me. He asked a lot of questions, but I told him what I knew. About a month later, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. I like to think that I helped him make that decision.
Grandpa, what happened when you got back from Washington?
I kept fighting for freedom for me and my people. I was a Union boat captain. I fought in 18 battles, and most of them were around big bases in Charleston. I think Mr. President Lincoln made a good decision in letting colored men fight and help win the war.
And when the fighting was over, what did you do?
I like to say I helped people be free. Every day something big happened after somebody got freedom. But what I'd like to talk about is the South Carolina Constitutional Convention of 1868. We voted on required education for ages 7 to 14. No state had ever done this for its children.
I remember you telling me that you helped pass the 14th Amendment to the Constitution at the state convention.
Yes, I was so proud. On July 9th, 1868, South Carolina approved the 14th Amendment, which said that no state shall deny the equal protection of any person of the law. After South Carolina approved the 14th Amendment, the whole country approved it.
You helped South Carolina and the United States make new laws?
Yes, I served in the House and the Senate of South Carolina. Then I was the representative for the United States. Imagine a colored man going from being a slave to being a congressman.
Grandpa, what was the best thing you ever did?
Do you mean besides my wonderful family? Well, I guess buying and keeping my house. And when I say keeping, I mean the former owner tried to take it from me. So I took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And when the Supreme Court ruled in my favor, that meant any freedman that owned property could keep it.
Even though you are over 70 years old, you're still working right here in Beaufort, aren't you?
Oh yes, I am. I am the customs collector for the Port of Beaufort, appointed by the President. I work in that office back there. Well, you can't talk about the progress without talking about them taking away all the rights that we won. I don't want to say anything terrible about the white folks, but they took away our right to vote, our right to be educated, and our right to be paid for our work.
You worked so hard for us.
Thank you, Grandpa.
Thank you, Grandpa.
Thank you, Grandpa.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls.
The best thing I can say is what I said back in 1895 when a new constitutional convention met in South Carolina. What I said then is still true today. My race needs no special defense, for the past history of them in this country proves them to be equal of any people anywhere. All they need is an equal chance in the battle of life.